What's up, guys? It's Yvonne here. In this video, I want to go over with you my focus tip number 3 that I use to help me stay focused on my goal at hand and work without any distractions at all for hours at a time. So if you haven't checked out my focus tips number 1 and 2, make sure to check them out as well. They will relate all with each other, all 3 of these tips, okay? With that out of the way, let's get in to focus tip number 3. So in the book, Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion, I'll put a link to that video up above where I give you a brief review and summary. We learned that one of the psychological principles we can use to sell our products or services is commitment. And written commitment is actually much stronger than verbal. And that's because with verbal commitment, you can always make excuses, not only to other people, but to yourself as well for why you didn't keep those commitments. So sometimes you may say something, and then if that doesn't work out, you'll say, oh, yeah, well, you know what? I actually never wanted it anyway. I never liked it anyway. It didn't turn out the way I wanted it. Now, with a written commitment, everything's on paper. And aside from the fact that it's on paper and the proof is there right before your eyes, aside from that, there is actually a psychological difference that happens when you write things down. You actually believe that which you wrote down more than if you were to just say it. It is a much stronger commitment, okay? So, and here I have a question. So have you ever experienced it that sometimes you would say out loud a goal you wanted to reach or do, and then you just wouldn't hit it? You wouldn't reach that goal, and then you would just make excuses and you would say something, you know, this happened, I didn't expect it to go this way, etc., right? That happened to me many times. So how can we then stay focused and accountable for what we do? Well, you guessed it, we write it down. So we keep kind of a diary. We keep a written journal. I have here my journal. See all these pages? All these pages are filled with my information here, right? I don't know if you see it, but every single page is filled. I started January 1st, 2017. It's been 4 months worth of pages, and I'll get into that in a bit. But I first heard about this from Jim Rohn, a successful entrepreneur who first mentioned this idea to me in an audio program. I bought that. My father, well, actually, I didn't buy it. I mean, my father bought it and he gave it to me. And he said the only way to stay accountable for our actions is to write everything down. And that is 100% true. When I first heard about it, actually, I did not take any action. It took me a few years to actually try it out and see if it worked for me. And now it benefited me in several ways. So let's go over those. One is I started focusing on the important tasks. So what this does is this helps you shift your focus from things that are irrelevant to things that are relevant. So I started off, you know, I would play games all day. Nothing wrong with playing some video games, but when you play it all day, when you have a goal, that becomes a problem, right? I used to wake up, play games, eat lunch, play games, eat dinner, play games, go to bed. Wake up, play games, eat lunch, play games, dinner, play games, go to sleep. Okay, you can make a nice song out of that. And that's what I used to do. Now I literally work that time that I used to play games. How crazy, right? How could this happen? Actually, I would like to attribute this 95% to this written journal. No joke. As soon as I started doing that, like my life just changed. Instead of playing games 24/7, I started working and hustling and working on my affiliate marketing 24/7. Okay, so that's kind of the way in which it benefited me. The first way. The second way is that I no longer started to make excuses for failing to do something. Right. So like I mentioned at the beginning, you would say something in your head and then it didn't work out, and then you would just let it go. You can't do that anymore, right? So now with this written journal, everything's on paper. You're much more committed to it, right? It's crazy, believe me or not, try it out yourself. If you don't, it's crazy. For some reason, when you put a pen on paper and you write things down, you're just that much more committed. I don't know why, that's just the way it works due to this actually psychology principle. The other thing is that every time I saw results and I wrote out my positive emotions and positive experiences, right, there was a little association, and writing it down actually prevented me from quitting several times. So I would say, you know what, I'm tired of this, I'm not seeing any results, let me quit. But then I would remember what I wrote down. And some of the things that I write down are, hey, you just made your first sale, your first $17 sale. Great job, keep it up. That was the first thing I kind of wrote down, at the top of the page. Another thing I wrote down, hey, great job. You made your first $500. Great job. Keep it up. Hey, your YouTube channel went from getting one new subscriber per month to two new subscribers a week, right? Stuff like that. And that just motivated me to keep going. Now, if I were to say it verbally, I guarantee you 100% it would not have had such a strong effect on me. I would forget it in the next 5 minutes. Out of sight, out of mind. Remember that. Focus tip number one. It's true 100%. Because I wrote it down, I just remembered it. And it's there. It doesn't go away. It's written down. It does not go away. I never forget it. Once it's written down, once it's there, it's always in my mind. Always. I'm never going to forget the experience I had when I had those results, right? And that's how useful it is. Same with the negative results. How did I manage to stop playing video games 12 hours a day? Well, I wrote down the negative emotions associated with that, right? So if we go to the next page, I started off by writing down every move, all my emotions, all my feelings, all my thoughts, all my ideas. Now that's too much. That took time, but I did it and it paid off. It was well worth it. It had, like I said here, an astonishing effect. Every single time I would play games, I would literally say how I felt. And I didn't feel good doing that. I said, hey, I'm wasting time. I know that I'm wasting time. I don't feel good doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway because I'm bored, because I want to kill time. I'm going to do it anyway. Now, guess what? I wrote that 5 times, right, after playing video games 5 times, and I stopped. I didn't want to play anymore. That's the key thing here. So whatever it is you're doing that you want to stop, you're drinking coffee 24/7, you're doing drugs, you're smoking, write that stuff down and say how you feel about it. I kid you not, I wrote it down for like 5 times, and that's it. I just didn't want to play anymore. I literally did. Because I wrote down that, hey, playing games causes me to feel bad about myself, I literally didn't want to do it anymore. I started writing down positive emotions for what I did want to do. Reading, getting better, working on my sales, improving myself. And I wrote positive emotions and I started doing that more and more. So this shifted my focus from something that was not relevant to my goal to something that was. 100%, I'm telling you, I'm saying this is 95% responsible for my shift here. I'd like to say 100, but just leaving that 5% out there just in case. So that's how much of an impact it had for me. Now, after I was writing down all these emotions and feelings, I changed it. So I no longer was doing that after a few months. After 2 or 3 months, I stopped doing that. I just started writing down my times. So as you can see here at the beginning, I don't want to show you too much detail. This is my private journal, but over here, like as you see, right, here's stuff. Here's how much I was writing down, right? You see here big pages, right? And then towards now, if you shift, you see stuff like this, right? You see me only going by times, right? Let's see here. Right? You see me only going, you see here the times, right? The times and the action that I took, right? And I also would write down my checkpoint. So at the top of a page, if something great happened, I would make sure to write that down. I hit my first 200 subscribers. I would write that down. I said, hey man, good job. Whatever you're doing, it's working. Just keep it up, keep it going. And that motivated me forever. That didn't motivate me for 2 minutes and then that's it, because I didn't just say it. I wrote it down. I always came back to it and I would read it and I would see it and it would be fresh in my mind. Out of sight, out of mind, insight, in mind. Okay, remember that strong thing. So I didn't need to write down emotions anymore because at that point everything was already written down. So I didn't have to write down my every single move like, hey, oh, I'm playing video games, I feel bad. I would just write down, 11:07, play video games. 12 o'clock, go for lunch. And then when I would see how much time I spent doing activities that were useless for me for my goal, I cut down to them. I cut them down automatically because of the emotions that I already had written down and the emotions I already had associated with that. It's kind of like classical conditioning, if you know Pavlov's psychological experiments where he conditions the dog to salivate on the bell. It's kind of the same thing here. I conditioned video games to be associated with negative emotion that I wrote down in stone. So now I know there's no more excuse. Video games do cause negative emotion. It's right there. It's written down. I'm not making it up. I'm not just talking about it. It's written down. So that's kind of what caused me to shift my approach, right? So I started with writing down everything to just writing down the time because that was all that I needed at this point. I already spent 3 months writing down everything. Now I could go to my times. And that's fine. That still helps. So if you even maybe just start with just writing down times, right? See how that works for you. I would recommend though that you do write down all of your emotions when you first start, at least for the first month. Just write down how you feel doing the actions that you take. Trust me, it will make such a strong impact. You will no longer make excuses, right? So in conclusion, keeping a journal helps you shift your focus from activities that are irrelevant to activities that are relevant, thus keeping you focused on that task at hand. Because once I start doing activities that do matter, I don't go back to playing video games at least for another, you know, month or two, right? When I'm like, okay, I wanna take a break. Let me just take a little break, see what it's like, right? Like I'm really focused. I'm really in the game of whatever it is I'm doing for a long time. And then I go back, I try it out again. I see, oops, I spent 1 hour playing video games. Too much negative experience and emotions associated with that. Let me go back to working instead, all right? And instead of working 11 hours a day, now I work 12, right? That extra hour. Extreme example, but I'm just telling you basically how it works, that once you get started, um, it doesn't stop, right? You just keep going in the right direction and you maintain that focus. So it helps because you can no longer make excuses. Everything is in stone. Now it's no longer yap yap, it's written down. So that's about it. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please leave them down below. Share your experiences. Let me know if you've ever written anything down with this journal by Jim Rohn. You don't need this Jim Rohn journal. I'll attach my affiliate link down below for you from Amazon. You can buy kind of his whole audio program. But basically, he says roughly what I say now. If you want to check out the full thing, check out the audiobook. I'll attach down below, like I said. But just buy a notebook from Walmart. Go buy a notebook and keep it as a journal. You don't need this particular one, right? But let me know your experiences with this, and if you've done this in the past, or if you're planning on using it, how it works for you. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. For those of you that have subscribed, thank you. I do appreciate it. And I will see you guys in the next video.